Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Dudes. I'm Alec,
And I'm Phil.
and today we're going to be talking about Andrei Tarkovsky's Solaris.
Hell yeah.
This is a very well-known film in the in the Russian catalog of movies. It was very big. It even got a remake, which I have not seen.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I guess we'll just jump into discussing it.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, yeah. So a quick synopsis of the movie. There's not honestly much more than like other movies of this one's like length, which this movie's long. It's
Yeah.
about 2 hours and 45 minutes. Unlike most movies that are like Solaris in terms of length, there's not really a whole lot that happens, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the main thing is the movie is quite like slow. So it's
yes,
just, there's a
very
lot of
much
shots
so.
of just like people not really doing much. So I guess that explains it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we begin with a psychologist named Chris Kelvin, who meets up with his father and an old colleague of his father's to discuss his upcoming journey to a space station orbiting a nearby planet Solaris. And he's being sent there to evaluate whether or not he thinks that the studying of Solaris should even continue, because the remaining scientists on board the space station have begun to report strange happenings like hallucinations, and have drastically gone down with their findings over the years. So he spends his last day with his dad and the colleague of his, a retired pilot named Burton, reviewing an old recording of Burton explaining his experience of being on an expedition on Solaris, where he flew around and saw a hallucination of a 4-meter tall child, which he later found out to be the child of another pilot who passed away. So these hallucinations were dismissed by the panel of scientists, but now that the remaining crew of the Solaris station have started to experience hallucinations, people are starting to kind of think back on it. Upon arriving at the station, he finds that none of the 3 remaining scientists, Dr. Gabarian, Snout, and Dr. Sartorius, are there to greet him. So like no one's there; it's all empty. He finds the space station is in like a great state of disarray. Like there's just stuff everywhere. Panels are missing off the wall. There's wires sparking, and he learns from the first scientist he finds, Dr. Snout, that Dr. Gabarian has killed himself. And while looking for Dr. Sartorius, Kelvin also catches like glimpses of other people on board of the ship, which he doesn't think that there is anybody else on the ship, and Dr. Snout explicitly told him that him, Snout, and Sartorius are the only people on the ship. Despite that, he starts seeing glimpses of people. He also finds that Gabarian left him a cryptic farewell message warning him about the station. After meeting up with Sartorius and having a pretty weird talk with him, Chris finds a room and goes to sleep. When he wakes up, he finds his wife, Hari, who had passed away 10 years earlier, sitting in his room. he doesn't really know how she got there, and so he is pretty terrified, and not thinking anything like in terms of wanting her to stay. He puts her in a he puts her in like a little pod and launches her into outer space. Upon confronting Snout about this, he explains that visitors or guests have begun appearing after the scientists started conducting radiation experiments on the planet by shooting X-rays at it. That evening, Ahari reappears. This time, he's like, all right, fine. He's like, you can stay. And then, I'm trying to think of like where else it goes from this point, but Chris Chris leaves the room for a moment in the morning, and Hari kind of panics and busts open the door, injuring herself. But before Chris can give her first aid on her arm injuries, they just start to spontaneously heal. Mm-hmm. The two other scientists explained that Solaris created Hari from his memories of her. The Hari among them is not human, but it thinks and feels as if she were. Sartorius theorizes that the guests are composed of neutrino systems rather than actual atoms, but it might still be possible to destroy them through the use of the device known as the Annihilator, since Sartorius kind of believes that these visitors, the guests, are kind of immortal in a way because of their rapid healing abilities. So Later, Snout proposes that beaming Kelvin's brainwave patterns through X-rays to Solaris might help what they're theorizing to be the ocean as one giant consciousness to understand them and stop bringing them guests. But in time, the second Hari becomes more, I guess, human and independent. And learns from Sartorius that the original Hari had committed suicide. Later that day, they all gather for a birthday party for Snout, which kind of evolves into a whole 15-minute long philosophical argument between all of them. During which Sartorius reminds Hari that she's not real, which causes her to attempt suicide later that night, only to really painfully resurrect after remembering, obviously, that she is physically immortal. So it's honestly a really painful scene to watch, and I didn't even remember it happened until I rewatched the movie. I'm like, oh my god. But after she's back, Snout begins to tell Kelvin that Chris, after they shot his beams of brainwaves down to the surface of the planet, the ocean has begun to swirl faster. That night, Chris apparently catches a fever and goes to sleep. And when he wakes up, Hari is gone. And Snout reveals to him that Hari went to Sartorius and asked him to annihilate her using the Annihilator, so that she wouldn't come back and disturb Chris anymore. And so now Snout kind of reveals to Chris that since they did broadcast his brainwaves into Solaris, the visitors have stopped appearing, and islands have started appearing on the planet's surface. And Chris kind of debates whether or not he should return to Earth or remain with Solaris, even though there's not really any good place for him to be, I guess. But now we get to the last couple minutes where it appears that he's back on Earth with his family home, in which he finds his father and hugs him, and then we start to kind of we kind of start to pull back from this scene until we realize that they are not on Earth, but are in fact on an island created by Chris's memories on the surface of Solaris's ocean. So that is the story of Solaris.
Yep. It's one hell of an ending, yeah.
Yeah, I saw this movie for the first time when I bought it for Criterion. It was one of my blind buys during last year's sale. And the first time I watched it was just very crazy because like I didn't expect it to be what it was. Mm-hmm. And I would say the first time I experienced it, this time I understood it. Like I kind of get it now. First time kind of went over my head a little bit.
Yeah.
But I would like to know what you thought since this was your first time watching.
Yeah, it was my first time. Not only my first time watching Solaris, but my first time watching any Tarkovsky movie. Which for the past few months, Tarkovsky's been a director that I've been very curious to get into, especially Stalker, which I've heard so much good stuff about. But it's also a director that I've been scared to go into because I've heard that it's like. He makes very slow movie, and he's not the type of director that anyone can enjoy. And I'm not the type of person who usually loves slow movies. I prefer fast-paced movies. So I thought, chances are I might not like it, but that would be a shame because, he's considered as one of the best directors ever. So it would be a shame to... Anyway, so I went into Solaris being... kind of scared, crossing my fingers that I would like it. So I watched it yesterday. Started I watched it like in three times. The first two ones were 45 minutes, and then I watched the rest in one go. And
I watched it the first time I watched it completely uninterrupted all the way through.
Damn.
Which is a very, very crazy experience, but this time I did split it up.
Right.
Yeah, which I split it up until the reason I split it up this time actually was I was watching it earlier today and I got through about 45 minutes, or at least until he gets to the space station. Then I pause it. I'm like, I gotta go to sleep or take a nap or something because I was falling asleep. But then I watched the rest of it in one go once I woke up.
Yeah, that's the thing is, so my first viewing, I watched the first 45 minutes, and that's just, the first 45 minutes of Solaris is the time he spends on Earth before going to the space station. And I literally pressed pause right before he got to the space station. And I kind of stopped those 45 minutes thinking like, oh no, I don't think I like it. I thought it was pretty boring. There was one thing in particular that I thought of was there's a scene, a sequence of his father's colleague, I don't remember, Burton, who was just driving through a city on a highway, and there's literally 5 minutes of just him driving.
It is 5 uninterrupted minutes.
Just
of him driving.
No dialogues.
It is
no dialogues, no music, dialogue. Just that. And I skipped through it. I watched like 2 minutes. I was like, oh fuck this, I'm gonna skip through it. And I kind of thought like, yeah, it's slow, but it also feels kind of useless. That was my takeaway from that.
It is. I think it's the one scene in the movie that just doesn't work. Like I don't understand why it's there.
Yeah,
even for that long, it just doesn't
it doesn't make sense at all. Especially since like we barely even mention him after that scene.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh no, I don't think I'm gonna like it. And then I watched the rest once he gets to the space station, and there's the whole thing where he sees his wife, and there's the whole mystery about that. And then I was like, oh, never mind. This is good.
Yeah.
And
once it really like kicks in with like his wife appearing, that's when it gets to a whole nother level.
it's I think I wrote that in my notes. Yeah, I wrote it took me almost an hour, but I think I'm finally into it. It's and yeah, so I had like I want to say a really good time, but I'm not sure that it's really the good way to put it because it's not really like the it's not really a film that you have like had that much fun watching, but it was really 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 good. I loved it.
Yeah, the best way I could describe it is it just kind of hits different at a certain point. Like
Yeah.
once you're in that mood
Mm-hmm.
of like being there, watching it, experiencing it, you're just kind of like, oh, this is something else.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because with it, that's the best way I can describe Tarkovsky to anyone who does not know his stuff, is that his movies are long, dense, just full of information, but they take their time and they do not spoon feed you anything. Mm-hmm. But it makes me feel like no other movie ever has. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something really special.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if you just want to go into like our notes that we've written about it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, well, so I wrote quite a lot of stuff for that. I'm not sure if everything I've written is really like that much like interesting, but we'll see.
I get it.
So the first thing I wrote is the first sequence of the movie is just Chris walking, just taking a walk near his house, and the way that it's shot and the way it all comes together, I saw it and I thought it was almost funny just how much like I'd imagine a cliche Tarkovsky movie to be. It was like so close to what I imagined in my head. Because nothing really happens in that moment. It's just like him walking, and yeah, I thought that was just pretty funny. Hold on, let me just look at.
There's one of my notes that I guess fits into that is I love like these weird otherworldly landscape shots that Tarkovsky gets throughout the movie. Like the every time that there's a shot of the Solaris ocean, it just like obviously he filmed it on Earth because there's no way that he could have either created something with a computer like we can do nowadays, or actually be in space. But those scenes where we see Solaris' ocean, it really does feel like otherworldly, and I think that's really impressive for a movie that's as old as Solaris is.
Something that I noticed, I think it's kind of funny, is just how the film is very long and very slow, but it kind of like I think the movie went a lot faster than I thought it would, and I noticed that a lot with like long movies, especially other movies like Seven Samurai, that kind of stuff. Because at some point I was looking at the time and I was like 30 minutes in, and I thought it was, it had been a lot less than that, just because like not that much stuff happened.
It puts you in a trance. It's weird.
Yeah. In no way it kind of does. Yeah. There's something that I didn't expect from that movie that that made it a lot more not enjoyable. That made it more fascinating, I'd say. Is there's something very disturbing about this movie.
It's kind of unsettling at a lot of points.
I think my favorite shot of the entire movie is there's a scene very early on when he gets on the spaceship right after he goes to his room to kind of like put his stuff there. He decides to go to the room of the guy who killed himself. I forgot his name.
Gabarian.
Yeah. and he goes to his room and he notices that he left a message for him once he got to the space station, and at some point he hears someone going to the door, and he sees that the door is slowly opening, so he rushes to the door to shut it down. And then he turns around and there's a shot of the room's window that looks into the void of space, and it just zooms until you just see like black. And then there's like this big, I think there's also this big like boom sound, this big bassy sound. And I was like, oh shit, what the fuck is that? What's going on? And there is definitely something very scary about like the void of space. So that definitely added to the how disturbing this shot was. I really didn't expect something like that in that movie.
Right.
And there's something, especially when in the first scenes where you see Harry, it's like when you don't quite understand what's going on and what she is. It's kind of like, there's something about the mystery of her. And just like, they say it's a hallucination, yet when she breaks the door, like the door is actually broken and it stays broken.
Yeah.
So that was honestly,
it's definitely more of like a manifestation than any kind of hallucination, because it's there.
Yeah.
And so are all the other, quote unquote guests that we see throughout the movie, which is not much.
Yeah.
Mainly in the beginning when he gets there.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that surprised me was when he introduced his wife to the other guys in the space station, and they can see her. That kind of like, that definitely surprised me, because I imagine, like, they say hallucination, so I imagined, just something that he only could see, but then everyone else could see her, talk to her, and she could come up to them and ask them questions. So that I thought that was very, very interesting.
Yeah. There was, I guess, the only other note I wrote in terms of just like the movie this time around was I thought a lot more about what I felt like the movie was trying to say, because it seems to me like it's definitely trying to ask the question of like what it means to be human more than anything. Because there's a lot of talk about like that's not the original Hari, and then when she tries to kill herself and comes back to life, she keeps saying like, I'm not the real one. And he was like, the one that was real is dead, so you are the real one. And it's like, what is it makes me it's existential. That's a good word for this.
Definitely
movie.
Is, yeah.
Existential, because I have no idea how to react to the idea of like, oh, what makes me real? Because that's an existential crisis right there. But
yeah.
But that's the type of movie that's the type of story that this movie is trying to, I guess, get across, or the type of idea at least.
Yeah, and it's also like, that to some extent that might be a stretch, but there's also definitely some message about the mourning process and like what it is to
that too, for sure,
letting go of someone who's died, because it's like there is this kind of like debate that you could have, that like if you're in this situation, what would be the good thing to do between accepting the fact that she's not the real one and decide to annihilate her because it would just bring back sad and dark memories, or stay in denial and act as if she was like she was just the real Harry who had never died, and just try to live as if you were still a married couple. There is something it's something pretty deep about that I think is pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to think about where my train of thought was going with with Hari, because there's something else I noticed, but oh god, I can't remember. I'll come back to it if it pops up again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
There is also something interesting about the fact that the main character is not just like some random guy who gets into like his past. He's a psychologist who sees all this weird stuff, but kind of like I don't know. There is some psychologically something very interesting about that, and I know it reminds me of another movie we talked about, but I don't remember which one. So that's pretty annoying. Fuck. But yeah, no, I don't really know how to explain it, but the fact that it's he's a psychologist, and that's something that I noticed is he's there to kind of like I don't know, to kind of examine the situation, and I feel like he doesn't really do much with that. He just kind of lives there.
Once Hari shows up, he's like completely derailed from anything.
Yeah. And it's like then he just goes back to Earth, and you kind of feel like, what did he do exactly?
So okay, I realize I remember my train of thought.
Yeah.
A point to bring up with, I guess, the mourning process that makes his situation with Hari much different from other types of, husband-wife mourning situations is that he wasn't exactly good to Hari on Earth.
Yeah.
Because it's revealed that he was extremely distant, especially during the scene at I believe it's near the middle of the movie where they're talking about him and Solaris Hari are talking about the whole term, the whole like why'd she kill herself, or like what happened between you two, and he talks about that, and I guess there's a sort of difference in his mind of maybe now that I have a second chance with her, I can really love her the way I was supposed to. But obviously, she realizes that's not a good thing and, takes care of the situation before it can get any more hurtful.
Mm.
And that's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah. This movie is really good. The whole every messages in those movies are like really in this movie are really well told. And so for the rest of my notes, I guess the last big thing I want to talk about is like the end of the movie, which really really took me by surprise. Because it's sort of early on you notice that there's something wrong, because like he looks into the window of the house, and you can see it's raining outside and inside, but his father in the house really isn't doing anything about that. And then there's just this shot of them just looking at each other, and then it zooms out and you see that they're on Solaris, and I was like, what? Excuse
it's
me?
Wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's
I didn't think that like Tarkovsky would make plot twists. I did not see that coming. It's like I didn't really have the time to look at analysis videos on Solaris, and I'm sure there's a bunch of videos like Solaris ending explained.
There actually isn't much. Most of the videos that I have found on Solaris are more about the more about the themes of the movie really than about what actually happens. Because basically everything that I said during my summary, because I remember that was another big thing I was thinking about. I was like, how am I going to summarize this movie? So I really tried hard this time to kind of nail down what this movie was about. So most of what I said in my summary is pretty beat for beat what happens and what it's supposed to mean. But I guess where you can get into analysis is like, what is it? What does that mean then? Like, are they're on Solaris? Huh?
But yeah, I really wonder what's the I guess the meaning of that ending. Why decide to make him stay? I'm guessing I'd say probably the easy thing is that, like, you know, his experience on and what he experienced on Solaris is something that, like, probably would stay with him and almost eat him, like, for the rest of his life. He says, like, if I go back, I'd probably find some new hobbies or meet some new acquaintances, but I would never be able to completely get into them.
Yeah.
So I guess it's
another
probably,
thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's another thing he says where he's like, yeah, like if I go back to Earth after a while, things will probably go back to normal, but I'll never be able to think about anything the same. And so I think that's probably part of the decision of him staying in Solaris.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I think it's more of a metaphorical ending, that he didn't actually go to Solaris on an island and stay there forever. Probably just is like metaphorically his head always stayed on Solaris. I think I just thought of that randomly, but
like that.
I think it makes a lot
like that.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
It works. No, that works. That might not be it. But that works.
Yeah, I don't care.
I like that.
I don't care. That's my solution of it. That's my answer.
Hey, you can have it. He's like, I mean, you could have a headcanon. That movie is nearly 50 years old.
It's got to be 50 this year. Happy birthday.
Is it actually? Oh my god!
It's 72. Yeah.
Came out. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god! It came out. It came out February 5th. It's gonna be 50 in 3 days as of recording this.
Dude. All right. I know we're supposed to upload episodes on Friday. Could you upload that one on Saturday, just like it can? Because oh my god, dude,
that's awesome. That is such a crazy coincidence.
that's fucking. So
if you're watching this episode right now on the day that it's released, just know that Solaris turns 50 years old right now. Yeah, that is insane.
Happy birthday, Solaris. That's fucking cool.
Happy birthday, Solaris.
Yeah.
that might be like a first and only for the podcast that we ever like accidentally do something like that.
Oh my god, that's what are the fucking chances, man?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know what the chances are, because that's so.
Well, that's just wonderful. Oh wow.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right.
Well, all right. So that was the last thing that I had. The last big thing that I had written in my notes, but I've got a few like smaller thing. One that I noticed is I kind of feel like this might be the Russian 2001 in a way, because it's a long slow movie about space made in the like 60s 70s.
It's really funny that you say that, because actually this is true. The two get compared a lot, but it's for a bit of a reason. When this movie came out, in most international countries that it played in other than the Soviet Union, the major selling point was that on the poster, I think it said Russia's answer to 2001 or something like that.
Oh my god!
I remember I watched a video where a guy was talking about how he was, in the 70s, he was like 12 and he went to go see it. Which is just, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't imagine watching this movie at 12 years old, but...
No, I wouldn't imagine either, but imagine...
Yeah.
Imagine seeing this in the theater when it came out. Imagine if a movie like this came out now. How weird would that be?
Well, I mean, what's his name? The guy who made The Green Knight, I feel is someone who's like the only one that I can really think of today that makes very slow movies. There's a scene in, I haven't seen it.
That works, yeah.
I haven't seen the movie, but I know there's a scene in Ghost Story, which was his previous movie, where I don't remember the actress' name, but she just like sits down and eats a pie without. It's just one shot of her eating a pie for 4 minutes. There's no dialogues, no cut or anything. It's just silence of her eating a pie, and that feels.
I think I did hear about that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people were talking about that because they're like, "What the fuck is that?" But in a way, it kind of makes me think of Tarkovsky. Just like, you know, we talked earlier.
Bit, yeah.
We talked earlier about the scene of Burton driving down the road for 5 minutes with nothing happening. It's kind of like the same vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, yeah, like in Green Knight, some of that comes back, but it's like, it's much more like Chris's walk in the beginning, where like, oh god, I'm forgetting names, but you know, the main character of the Green Knight walks around, or like a big portion of the movie obviously is his journey. So a lot of it is just walking around with not much dialogue, but the difference here is that it looks like a storybook.
Yeah, I really got to watch Green Knight.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely see how it could relate to Tarkovsky's method of, you know, directing a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to say. A lot of stuff that I wrote were just
That's
like
about
repetition of what I said.
That's about all I had to say as well.
Yeah.
But so I guess we could probably get into some of the movies we've seen recently, unless you have a big thing to talk about.
I don't have anything to talk about in general because I literally did not watch anything this week.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. Solaris.
I get that.
Dude, Solaris
Last
is the
week,
only
the only
movie
thing I watched was Chungking Express.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Solaris is the only movie that I saw since Chungking Express. But yeah, so what did you watch?
Well, 1 second. Okay, so the first movie that I watched since Chungking was I watched the new Disney film Encanto.
What did you think?
And I think it's okay.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the music isn't great, but that's probably because I'm not the most avid fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda. I like Hamilton, but that's about it. I still haven't seen Tick Tick Boom.
You should.
The song that's blowing up right now from Encanto, though, the one that's like number one on the U.S. charts or whatever, is We Don't Talk About Bruno, which is a great song, but that's like probably the only great song from the movie.
All right, well, it's the only one I've heard, and I really like it.
It's great, yeah. It's a great track. And maybe it's just me. I don't know, but I just remember
It could be.
I thought a lot of it. I guess to describe it, like why I didn't really like it as much as, you know, maybe Soul or something like that. I guess it was probably because like it didn't feel like much happened, because like you get like an hour of build up, and then everything conflict wise happens in like maybe 5 minutes, and then the end happens. So it's kind of it's a little jarring. And it didn't feel like a lot of the characters' decisions made a whole lot of sense. But I think the performances were done well, especially John Leguizamo as Bruno. But yeah, I think it's a decent movie. Like it doesn't do anything to make me think it's bad or anything, but it doesn't do a whole lot for me either. But that's maybe because I just am not the kind of audience typically for Disney movies.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But the other... Oh, yeah, what were you going to say?
Well, so I haven't seen Encanto, but I'm a pretty I guess you could say I'm a pretty big fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda. What I'll say is I really like him, especially when he's not performing. Don't want to be mean, but like I saw a lot of memes about like, oh, you just know he really wanted to be Bruno, and it's like to me, Lin-Manuel Miranda is a great songwriter, but he's not the best like singer or anything. But when it comes to just
He's
writing
not.
music,
I get that.
yeah, yeah. And
He's
there's
good.
this,
I thought he was good in Hamilton,
well,
but most of that is probably
yeah.
because it's rapping, not singing.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when it comes to singing, he's not bad, but he's not, he's not Broadway good. That's
I
what I'll
get
say.
it.
Like
I get it.
yeah, in Broadway, his success is more because of how good he is at writing than performing. But still,
Right.
big fan of his stuff. Big fan of Moana. He made the music for that. The music was fucking fantastic in my opinion.
You made the music for Moana?
Yeah, he did.
That is surprising. That's a good
he's-
soundtrack from what I
Yeah,
remember.
he's the guy who made The Rock sing. So that's pretty good.
it's a pretty good claim to fame. I'm good with
Yeah.
that. I'd probably put that in my Twitter bio if I was him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the other full movie I saw was Nightmare Alley, the new Guillermo del Toro movie.
Ooh. All right.
But there's a caveat to this. I
Uh-huh.
saw a screening of the movie in black and white that they dubbed Visions in Darkness and Light. So I've still not seen what the color version looks like,
I
but
didn't even know that was a
damn
thing.
if it-
That's so
but-
cool.
it is really cool. But damn if it works really well with black and white. Like it almost makes me think like, well, what does the color version look like? Because if it looks this good as it is right now, it's like, what does that even look like? So, because like there's so many scenes where the black and white quality almost gives it like an otherworldly feeling. It's like it feels like in a lot of places it feels like a classic like noir type movie, and it's really really good. I don't think it's amazing or anything. There's a lot of like it's really long. It's like 2.5 hours. And I don't think it needed to be that long per se, but I mean it's a good ride. I think it's a good movie. And I would probably I've heard it's coming out. Let me look this up to make sure I'm not like telling a lie here. But I'm pretty sure very soon in America it's coming out on HBO Max. I'm not sure about other places in the world, but I'm assuming some other places will get the we'll get just the versions of it. And it's already streaming. Okay.
Oh, all right. Well, I have to look at that.
So, if you're in the U.S., Nightmare Alley is out right now on HBO Max.
Yeah.
But it was good. And the last thing I watched, which is a thing I watched for class, was a short film called "If Anything Happens, I Love You," which was directed by Will McCormick and Michael Govier, I think is how you say his name. It was released a couple years ago onto Netflix, and it's no dialogue, animated short about dealing with the loss of a child. And it's some good stuff. It's heavy, but it's good stuff. But that's kind of all that I watched, really. Which I need to get back on that because I've been, obviously school started back up and everything. I've been looking for a job, which will take up time. I've been streaming more recently, especially today and tonight and tomorrow as we're recording this, because I don't know if it's hitting Canada or anything or Quebec, but right now in northern Ohio where I live, we are going to get hit with possibly one of the biggest winter storms of the last decade.
I don't know about like I don't know if it's gonna hit us soon, but like right now it's really like for February it's pretty warm right now, so I don't know.
It was like 50 yesterday over here, and I'm like, oh no, that either means that I'm like either it's a positive thing that means the snow's gonna start melting, or it's gonna get much worse. And apparently it is snowing like crazy. where my parents live. And it doesn't look like anything's happening right now because I just looked out of my window. But I guess we'll see. So I'll be doing a lot of streaming, or I guess I would have done a lot of streaming once this episode comes out. But yeah, that's mainly what I've been up to.
All right.
What?
Yeah. So hold on. Look,
Yeah.
what did I do this week that is worth talking about on the podcast? There is I gotta complain about something real quick. Just gotta get it out.
Go right ahead.
I wanted to talk about that last week, but I completely forgot. So I've mentioned a lot before that one of the things I really want to do this year is get to 1,000 movies on Letterboxd, and you know I'm definitely gonna get there this year. That's very, very easily doable. But the thing is that's pretty annoying is so. I was at like 800 and I think I was at around 890 movies, and then one day I wake up, I open Letterboxd, and I notice that I'm at 875.
Yeah.
So I lost like 15 movies from my watch list. And
Letterboxd went on a purge recently.
Oh, they did? Is that a thing that actually happened?
Yeah, no, it's pretty I heard some talk about it on the subreddit, but they went on a purge of a lot of I guess a lot of TV shows, some comedy specials I think got caught. Some trying to think of other things. A lot of short films got removed. Like YouTuber short films. Like my short film is not on there anymore.
Oh.
It was for a long time, but I guess either them or Movie Database, which is the database that they pull their movies from. I guess they must have removed it because it's just didn't have enough watches. But yeah, I do remember vaguely hearing that a decently sized purge happened.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think they might have deleted some. Oh, no, never mind. I thought they might have deleted some Doctor Who episodes, but they're still there. So I don't know. Yeah, there got to be something like that. Yeah, it definitely have a lot of stuff that, like, aren't really movies. Like, I got some TV shows, TV show episodes, some whole TV shows. I've got some YouTube videos. Like, I've got all the ASDF movies.
I'm trying to remember, because I remember there was some YouTube video thing I had on there. Hold up. It's still there. It's Frederick Knudson's Down the Rabbit Hole series on YouTube, which is by the way, if you haven't seen it, fantastic series of documentaries. But
wait, it's on Letterboxd?
Yeah, it is.
Weird.
Most of them, I think, like the Deep Blue episode, like Temple OS, a lot of the long ones.
Huh.
But anyway, I have a lot of anime as well. Like that's a big thing. And I remember I did see recently Letterboxd came out and said that they've been looking into, because they allow like one season like short run anime onto their platform, just like anime that ran for one season only. They allow that on there, but they've been kind of looking into getting maybe more than that, maybe more than just one run shows or like miniseries. They're thinking. I remember I saw that they were considering that adding TV shows, which would be interesting.
Yeah,
I think it'd be pretty interesting.
Honestly, I think it would. Honestly, I think it could be really cool to like make Letterboxd not only just about movies but TV shows in general. I think it would add a lot of like cool stuff. There's a lot of TV shows that I'd like to log just to add some numbers to my list. But
and I could finally I could finally get an app that I wish that I wish my anime list was like, because I like the my anime list app, but it doesn't have many features. and I just wish it was more like Letterboxd.
Yeah, it's like Letterboxd is like My Name is, but for movies and like 10 times better.
It's true.
Also,
the one thing I do,
modern.
One thing I do, oh yeah, much more modern.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like about My Anime List though is that you can like, I guess, specify the amount of episodes you watched, which is kind of cool. It helps me keep track of like the bigger shows that I've been watching, like Dragon Ball. Like I'm able to just be like, I don't even know what episode I was on. 38? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be fun, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other interesting things to mention that would be good for the podcast. I had a fun idea recently, and I don't know if we want to hold off on this until like the 20th episode, but I think it might be kind of cool to maybe rank all the movies that we've talked about.
Ah.
Like up to a certain, up to like whatever part we're at. Or maybe we could like, yeah, like we could do that like maybe every 10 episodes or something, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, like make a tier list.
We could do a tier list.
Tier list would be cool.
Or I guess just a ranking was my original idea, but tier list is cool too. I like that.
Yeah, well, ranking might be more difficult, so I think that would be better to do. Because like,
I agree.
Yeah, and there's a lot of movies that would be in S and A, not a lot of movies in F.
Yeah, well, no, see, that's the thing, is that it's gonna be like all relative. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, F tier might be like a 5 out of 10 movie. Because I really think that the only movie that we've talked about that I don't think is a good movie is Spider-Man 3. It's like the only one, and even then it's not like atrocious or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think Spider-Man 3 is a bad movie, so. Yeah, no, definitely is the worst movie we've talked about, but yeah, no, ranking would be a better idea. Yeah, we could try to do that maybe next episode.
That sounds like a good plan. I'll put together a list.
Well, I've never made that public, but like I've been just on my own. I've been on my account. I made a list of every Movie Dudes episode. Just.
I did the same.
Oh yeah. Well.
Yeah, I just kind of did it when I was bored one day. I was like, that'd be fun. Just kind of keep that up for a bit.
Yeah, I try to update it once we like every time we upload an episode, but I always forget. Yeah. And I really didn't do like most of what I did this week was just like working on videos.
Right.
Yeah, like I uploaded a cover of Coldplay's The Scientist last week. Which was actually on my birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I realized the other day that I never told you that last week was my birthday.
But yeah. Well, happy
happy
belated birthday. Yeah, I never knew.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm officially 19 years old.
Ooh.
So
actually,
that makes
wait,
it.
You might have mentioned something about that. I'm not sure.
I don't think I have, but maybe I forgot. I don't know, but
it sounds like vaguely familiar, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I'm 19 years old, which is about 3 years younger than what people think I am.
You really do. You look much older than me.
It's the beard.
But like I'm
That's
the one.
all it is.
Yeah, but I'm the one turning 20 in like 2 months.
Yeah. But it's like, it's kind of funny because like every time, sometimes I'll be curious and I'll ask people who don't know my age, like, hey, how do you think I am? They're always going to say like, I don't know, like maybe 21, 20, maybe 22. And I'm like, haha, I'm younger than that. But I do have like very good beard genes. Like, I've had like if you go on my oldest videos on my channel, I already had a beard and I was 16. So
I don't
Yeah.
think I've shaved since I was at least 17. But I remember like I mean like shaved completely obviously. But recently I was thinking to myself I
clean
was
shaved,
like
yeah.
yeah, recently I was thinking to myself I'm like my face is kind of patchy. I'm like maybe I should just shave it all off and like be,
Ooh.
baby face for a month or so. And then literally everybody I brought it up to was like, "No, don't do that. You're gonna look awful." I'm like, "You're right."
Yeah, I think I kind of have to agree with that.
It's like, yeah, I can't.
And
I don't
I'm
know
not
what to
saying,
do.
I'm not really sure that would necessarily look like that, but it would look really
Right.
weird. Like,
It would just look strange.
yeah, it's like I don't even want to imagine what it would look like. I think if I shaved my beard, I would. First of all, the fact that I have long hair.
I don't think I'd be able to recognize you. I don't think I'd be able to recognize you.
Probably not. But it's also the fact that I have really long hair means that like I think a lot of people would think that I'm a girl.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Which is would honestly be pretty funny. But
It'd
also
be
like
funny, yeah.
I really like having a beard and I want to keep it that way. But
Yeah.
Well, that's something that I taught. Yeah.
It's the same thing here. It's like I like having long hair, which is something I discovered over quarantine because obviously you couldn't go out and get a haircut.
That's
but I
actually why you got long hair?
Yeah, well, the main thing with it was like I don't know. When I was a kid, I never really liked shaving my head too much, which is something my mom always made me do every summer. Is like she made me shave my head, and then when I turned like when I got to like 16, I'm like I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'll just get regular haircuts. And then even then, I was like these look awful because they would cut my hair too short or something. And then when COVID hit, I couldn't get a haircut, so I just kind of, I stayed and I'm like, I just wonder what it'll look like. And then once, I went to college, I'm like, this is good. I'm not doing anything to this.
Yeah.
I'll go every few months, I'll go and get it like leveled and trimmed or whatever. But like, this is a good arrangement I got right now.
Yeah. Well, I've actually been growing my hair for a really long time. Like, well,
Really?
really long time. Depends on what you think by that. It was, I think, in like May of 2017. So yeah, it's a pretty long time.
It's about almost 5 years. I'd say it's a pretty long time.
It's gonna be 5 years in a few months. But so the thing is, like, I didn't really mind my hair, but the thing is, I pretty much never really cared. I always had basically the same haircut. I never really tried anything fancy, and but my hair never really looked good. I never really found a really good haircut, but I didn't care. And then one day I just, how sometimes you just go into weird rabbit holes on YouTube.
Yes.
I found a I got into a rabbit hole of people doing time-lapse videos of like they would grow their hair and take one picture a day and just make a time-lapse with that. And I kind of thought like, maybe I would look good with long hair. So I started growing my hair, and it looked really bad for a while until I was able to put it into like a man bun, and then I kept it growing for a long time. I did cut it just a tiny bit in 2019, and I have not done anything to it. So it might not, you might not think that it's that long because I always have like a man bun, but like if I untie it, you can see like people who watch it will see that it's like if I pull my hair, it goes to like my belly button. If I put it like in front of me, it's really long. And
That's
like,
crazy.
It's like it goes to like the bottom of my back, and it got to the point where like for a while I had longer hair than pretty much any guy I knew, but now it's to the point where I got longer hair than most girls I know. So
That's fantastic.
and like honestly, sometimes I just look at myself in like videos and be like, "Damn, my hair's really long. I like it."
Yeah, like I I normally will like tie my hair back or something, except for when I'm just like at home. But I never do man buns. Like I'll do ponytails, but my girlfriend hates man buns.
Oh really?
I don't know what it is. I don't mind them. I've never done my hair like that, but I just remember she was like, I was like, what do you think of me having long hair? Because we dated long before I grew out my hair. And she was like, it's fine, just don't put it in a man bun. And I'm like, oh, like I didn't know there's a stipulation.
All right.
But I remember my mom, initially was just kind of like, oh, I want you to cut it. This looks awful. And then eventually she was like, all right, she was like, it's growing in. It looks good.
Yeah.
And then one day I remember I came home from something during the summer of 2020, and I walked in and my mom like bought a bunch of like product and stuff, and I went, what's that? And she was like, I'm gonna teach you how to care for girls' hair. And I was like, what? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Why? And she was like, well, because if you want to grow your hair like a girl, you're gonna have to, you gotta do that. And I'm like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, longer hair definitely means more care to it.
Yeah, which honestly, I don't really, or like I don't really see it as a problem. I guess some people would, but
yeah.
I take long showers anyway, so I think it's fine.
Same, yeah. And honestly, I think it's worth it. Like whenever I wash my hair, I'm like, it's so soft. But yeah, no, I love having. I remember because like I grew my hair in I was in high school, and the thing when you grow your hair is there's when you have short hair, it grows up because it's pretty short, and that's naturally what it does. And then there's a point where gravity just does its jobs and it starts growing down. But there's a time period where it still grows up, but it really should start to grow down because it kind of starts looking like shit. And that's the tough period. Yeah. And that's like, if you want to have short hair, that's a period where it's like it gets really ugly, it gets tough. You just have to like go through it. And I remember that there was a guy in my class. He wasn't even my friend. He was just a guy who was kind of like often going to me and telling me like, dude, you should cut your hair. It's not looking really good.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, dude, shut the fuck up. I'm not talking about your hair.
Asshole.
Oh yeah, no, he was kind of like an asshole about that. What's funny is then during the summer after that year, I started like being got long enough that I could put it in a bun. And I got to school the first day of the year, and he saw me with a bun and was like, all right, now it's good. And I was like, yeah, dude, fuck you, man.
That's funny, man.
Oh, that's fucking funny.
I remember the I don't remember what like people around me's reaction to this was, but I just remember because like obviously during quarantine you disappear for like 4 months. And since I don't usually post on social media or anything like that, at least not pictures of my face, it was kind of crazy. And then once our family started getting together again, everybody was like, "What the hell is this?" And I still have uncles that are like, "You should cut that."
Yeah.
But yeah, that's family.
Yeah.
But you said yours is down to your belly button, which is crazy. Mine is down to the bottom of my neck. It kind of like goes over my shoulders a little bit, but not much.
All right, yeah. So it's long, but it's not long. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not long. It's long.
It's
for a guy. For a girl, this would. Yeah, for a guy, it's long. For a girl, it would be like a medium-sized haircut.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It definitely was weird the moment where I realized that my hair was longer than my mom's, that's always a funny thing.
That is something.
Yeah,
that's
to be fair, she's got hair to like her shoulders, so she never really had like very long hair, but still, so it's especially since like
give it like a year with me not cutting my hair. My hair will be down to where my mom's is, I'm sure. Yeah. Her hair goes down to like like just past her neck, I think. Like, just a little bit more down.
Yeah.
That's funny though.
But it's like I remember like when I started growing my hair, people were telling me like, "Oh, give it a year and you it's gonna be short again." And it's gonna be 5 years this year, and I have no intention to cut it. Like it is staying this long is gonna be staying this long for a very long time, I think, because I love it this way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, like my family, the guys in my family, except for my grandpa for some weird reason, have like a pretty consistent, hair loss track record. So I'm not getting rid of this until like I have to, because I'm not gonna be one of those guys who does like the whole like weird comb over thing. Like you can see they're starting to bald, but they keep a little bit of hair anyway. No, once and if. I'm saying, and if I end up like my grandpa who still had like decently long hair when he died, I'd be fine with that. But like if it starts to like bald a little bit, like I get that male pattern baldness, all off, done. I don't even care what I look like bald. It's just not. I'm not gonna stoop that low. I'm not gonna do the whole balding thing.
I don't know about you, but like I'm pretty scared of hair loss. Because like
I'm decently afraid of it. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's gonna be a weird moment.
For guys, that's a pretty natural thing to be afraid of. But the thing is also like a lot of times you can look at your family and be like, all right, I'm probably gonna be okay, or I'm probably gonna lose my hair. But the thing is that like I look at my uncles, it really is a lottery, because like I've got uncles that are bald and have been bald for like ever since I was born. But I've also got uncles that have like a lot of hair and that like are not balding at all. So it's kind of like what's gonna happen to me? But I know there's ways that you can stop balding.
Yeah.
So I think if I notice I start balding, I might try to do that. But again, I'm only 19, so we'll see.
Yeah, like it's not really something that we got to think about right now. We're like, then again, I have a friend who's like maybe almost 30, and he started balding around like 25. So it's like,
yeah, I mean,
but his family, actually, I don't think they have a track record of balding too much. I don't know. But I remember, it's really weird because like I don't really have, I guess, too much to go off of in terms of like what I think my hair is going to look like, because, a lot of the family I have is the family that I've, kind of inherited from, my stepmom and my stepdad. A lot of my blood family is either not in this state or they're not around anymore. So it's like, oh, okay. Is this? What's this going to end up like?
There's like a mystery to it. Yeah.
It's a little bit of mystery to it, but I can see, I can see my grandpa on my dad's side, who's, he's nearly bald, and then I have my grandpa on my mom's side who had hair down to his neck when he passed away, and it was like, what's the how crazy is this gonna get?
Yeah, it really is a lottery. But yeah, if I ever get to a point where I'll have to like shave my head, I just hope that I'm gonna look good bald.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever go like. I would think I'd keep the facial hair. I would never shave that off.
It's like, especially if I get bald, like bald and clean shaved is just no, thank you. Like
here's a really funny idea. I think if I lost all my hair, I wouldn't have too much going for me. So I think it'd be really funny if I got like jacked, like if I went bald like in a few years. Wouldn't it be really funny if it's just like you go from me right now, like I'm kind of fat, and then like I kind of fat with long hair, and then just like time jump 10 years, bald, jacked. That would be hilarious.
Dude, you'd become The Rock.
Oh my god, I saw this.
Yeah.
The Rock, I don't know why, but The Rock might be like the funniest looking celebrity to me. I don't know what it is, but every time I see him, I kind of laugh because he's kind of comical. He posted this video the other day to Twitter where he's like talking about something normal.
Oh,
but
yeah.
his head's all wet and like steam is rising from it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is happening right now? Like, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I'm sure that happens to like bald people all the time.
Uh-huh.
But my first thought was like, what the hell is that?
I think people were like, dude, the rock's melting. Holy shit.
That's really funny.
Like...
I think someone was like, you could probably cook an egg on that.
But speaking of like bald people, there is something really weird about seeing old pictures of The Rock when he had hair. Like, you know, the famous,
something weird, isn't it?
You know, the famous picture of him with the turtleneck and just like
that picture is incredible.
That picture, yeah. It's such a it's so good. Oh man. Oh, and you got Kevin Hart that like copied it. Because of course he did.
Oh my god, that's right.
Dude.
Have you ever seen the picture of The Rock in high school where he looks like where he looks like a bouncer at like a nightclub or something? It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
It's so funny. Because it's like I think I look old. Like, holy shit, The Rock.
The Rock looked like he was 40 in that picture.
He looks exactly the same. Like, give him a mustache and give him hair. He looks exactly the same. It's like... But...
Oh my god.
Man, it's like, I've been looking at videos of him and Kevin Hart, and they're just like such a good duo together.
They are a good duo together. I remember I saw a little bit of that Central Intelligence movie they did a few years ago. It wasn't like great, but it was funny.
Which one was it?
It was the one. It was the one where they like.
Is it the one where they're like high school? They were in high school together, and when they were in high school, The Rock was really fat. Is that the one?
I think that might be the one. Oh my god, that might be the one.
I remember when it came out, everyone was like, "Dude, Fat The Rock, what the hell is that?"
Fat Rock. Hold on, I gotta look this up now.
Yeah.
Fat The Rock movie. Yeah, it was Central Intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, fat Dwayne Johnson. Oh my god, that's so funny.
That's such a strange thing to look at. Because like he's always been very buff.
Yeah.
So like. Oh yeah, that's really funny. But yeah, no, it's just like watching videos of him and Dwayne and Kevin Hart being like, "Hey, it's like, hey Dwayne, how tall do you think Google says I am?" Honestly, to be really honest, like to be serious, 4'2". And it's like, it is always funny. Every great duo in comedy have like a tall one and a short one, and usually it's gonna be like a tall, thin one and a short, fat one. But you know there are exceptions, such as this one. Yeah. But
there's, I don't know. There's just something strange about people who are like taller than like 6'4". Like people who are like big tall. That stuff's crazy. Yeah. I have a friend who is very, very tall. And when I lived in a studio apartment, I remember one time I was like, "Hey, could you like lay on the floor for like just a second?"
Yeah.
It was the most insane thing I've ever seen. He reached from my kitchen to my couch. It was like I don't even know how he does that. But like, have you ever seen? Do you know?
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, do you know how tall he was?
I think he's like maybe 6'5", 6 something like that. He's a tall man, very tall man. Oh yeah.
I went to school with a guy who was around that high. He was like 2 meters tall. But like I went to like. I went to school with him from like elementary school to high school, and he was always the tall one, but there was especially in elementary school he was like still average tall, and then there's a point like in middle like high school where he got like very, very tall. I was like, dude.
Yeah, it's like it's like the point where everybody stops growing, but he just kept going.
Well, not even that.
I had a friend like that.
it's like he was growing the same rate at the same time
Oh
as
yeah,
anyone else. He was just growing
taller.
more. Yeah. But
Right,
and
yeah.
at some point I was talking to him about that, and he was telling me like, dude, I mean, at some point I'd like to stop growing because it's getting a lot, and like, yeah, at some point, yeah, I definitely get that. Like, you just think, how tall am I gonna get? You know, I don't know, but yeah. So what were you gonna say?
My brother's like funny tall. Like him and
Mm-hmm.
him and me in my car is a funny situation. Looks like a clown car.
All right.
But have you ever seen the picture of Shaq, or at least I think it's a video where he like drinks a water bottle?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the most insane thing I've ever seen.
Absurd.
Because the water, like he's like holding it like he's like holding it with his whole fist, and it's not even bigger than his chin. And it's like, what's happening?
So funny.
It's like the size. It's like the size of his fist.
Have you? Another good one is, have you seen Andre the Giant drink from a beer can? Like the can.
No, I have not. Give me a second.
The can is actually the size of his hand. Like, it's insane.
Andre the Giant beer can. Oh,
yeah.
That is the size of his hand. That's insane.
That's crazy. It's like, there's a lot of funny like alcohol stories about him, that like one time he sat down at a bar and drank like 100 beers. And he got like, he passed out because obviously he like, it's 100 beers.
Yeah.
He might be like 7 foot something, but it's still 100 beers. And like, he was with 2 other wrestlers, and they had to like drag him to his hotel, which must have been like one hell of a challenge.
Oh
like,
no, that's that would have been awful. The the fact that 100 beers obviously is impressive, but the fact that he was alive after that is even more impressive, because that would even like something.
Oh yeah.
Even like 50 beers in one sitting would kill a regular man. But Andre trucked 100 beers and just kept going.
It was. It's just something. My brother told me something that I thought was hilarious, which is, fun fact: if you eat 30,000 bananas in 10 minutes, you'll die from radiation. And it's like, no, I think you'll die before 10,000 bananas.
Die from radiation?
Yeah, because it's got like potassium.
The radiation thing is the radiation thing is like the funny part to me, because like, it's like, obviously you die from like maybe even like 50 bananas, maybe, or at least get really sick. The fact
I don't think you'd die with 50, but you'd get really sick. Yeah,
you would get really sick. At least 100 would kill you. It has to. I always think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I always think it's fascinating when it's like, how many of these in one sitting would kill me? Mm-hmm. Like if you eat something really happy or really healthy, like even like a celery stick. Do you think you could eat like endless celery sticks and be fine? Because it's just like water mostly. Hold on. I gotta answer my own question now.
Yeah, but there's such a thing as like water poisoning. Like, you could die from drinking too much water. Like, not because it's water and it's really.
Oh yeah.
Just because you need to drink it doesn't mean that like it's infinitely healthy, and it will always be healthy no matter what the quantity is.
I didn't find anything to answer my question, but I did find a suggested term, which was, how much is too much celery? Which is a really good sentence.
How
God.
Much is too much celery? I don't know.
Apparently one cup of chopped celery daily is fine enough. You would probably die from malnutrition before you died from the celery. That makes more sense.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, celery is healthy, but it's like not a lot of, like, as you said, it's basically water. There's not a lot of stuff.
It's solid crunchy water. It's not real food.
Yeah, it's like cucumbers. Yeah, they're both kind of like
Really.
that. Oh, dude. This summer I went to a friend's house and she made me try some cucumber flavored gin. Like it's like one of those very low alcohol drinks that are very sweet. Which is honestly the only kind of alcohol that I like to drink, and that one was cucumber.
Oh yeah, I forgot the legal drinking age was 19 in Quebec.
Actually,
is that true or
actually,
is it 18?
It depends on the province. In most of them,
Really?
it's 19, but
That's what I thought.
In 3 others, including Quebec, it's 18. So we're the lucky ones to get to drink at 18, like most countries.
Yeah. 21, by the way.
Yeah.
What a mess. Okay, here's my thing. I am not usually the type of person who thinks that changing a law is a great idea. But the fact that I can die the fact that if in the event of a random draft, like if that were a mandated thing, I could get drafted against my will, die for my country at the age of 18, but not be able to drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes until I'm 21. That seems unfair to me. It seems like, well, if you can kill me,
it is.
If you can legally make me fight for you, if you can legally make me fight for you, shouldn't I be able to do all this other stuff? I can't even rent a hotel room in most places until I'm like a certain age. Did you know that? That's the most insane I can't rent a car until I'm 26 in my state. I think that's true. It's the most insane thing.
You can't what?
Rent a car age.
Rent a car.
USA. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why specifically rent a car? Like you can't.
I don't know.
You can get a driver's license. You can buy a car, but you can't rent it. If you get a car, you're gonna keep it to yourself.
The minimum age for most car rental places in the United States is 25 years old. However,
that's
most major car rental companies allow drivers below 25 to drive a rental car as long as they pay a fee and meet all the requirements. That's insane.
That's honestly very stupid. Like
it's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I can get married right now. I think it's really legally, but I can't. I can't get a hotel room.
Yeah, no,
it's
insane. It's really weird. But it's like like it's really funny how like it's everyone drinks before the age limit. It's not
of course.
All right, well, happy birthday! You're now 21. Here's a beer. But that's something that I thought, which is like on my 21st birthday, I want to go to the U.S. and drink a beer, just to be like, I can drink a beer in the U.S.
I can drink in the U.S. Meanwhile, you've been doing it for like, you've been doing it for like 3 years in Canada.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
God, that's funny.
Oh, dude. I got it. That's a pretty funny story. Which is last year. So my my birthday last year on January 27th was during when the pandemic was really hitting hard, and not only that, but we had a curfew at 8 p.m. So let me just tell you that I partied real hard that night. And so no, but seriously, what I did was with my brothers, we went to a convenience store and we just got each other, like we bought some drinks.
Right.
I got myself like one of those very, very sweet, almost juice like drinks. They're like 5% alcohol, and I went to to pay for it, and I was waiting for the cashier to tell me like, all right, can you show me your like ID so I can see you're overage? And I was like preparing to show it, and then was just like, all right, that'll be $250, and she didn't say jack shit. She didn't say anything, and that just made me say like, fuck, I could have bought alcohol before that, because a year ago I looked basically the same that I look now, and like
there was. I had a similar experience, but it was kind of flipped to where before I turned 17, because that's I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but that's the minimum age you can go see like R-rated movies by yourself without a guardian, like a parent or something like that. Is that the same?
we don't have the same rating thing here, so I'm not sure.
Oh, right.
We have
anyway.
See, that's the stupid. We have one. There's one for Canada, and there's another one for specifically Quebec, because you like to do things ourselves here. I don't know why. I don't know.
I'm kind of interested now.
Yeah,
Quebec rating system.
It's like based on age. So it's like general, which is anything. There's 8 years older, 13, 16, and 18. And I'm not sure. It's like obviously porn movies are 18, but I'm not sure what other movies are. Like, hold on.
Okay. Oh no, that doesn't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, obviously when I was 7, obviously I snuck into a few R-rated movies when I was like 15, 16.
Yeah, sure.
Because I already looked like I was like 17, and no one cared. Yeah. Because I would go really late, and that's when they just stopped. That's when a lot of theaters stopped caring.
Yeah.
Which is funny, but I remember the first time I ever got ID'd at a theater was my 17th birthday when I went to go see John Wick 3. I remember I walked up and they're like, "May I see your ID?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, you can." but I was like, "Well, that would have been really bad last week," because I remember the week before I went to go see Us and I was not 17. But there was one really funny time, because I this was that summer when I was 17, but my friend was 16. We went as a group of 4, all of us 17, except for our one friend who was still 16. We went up. I think we were going to go see the Child's Play remake. We went up, and it was like, oh yeah, okay. The first 2 got through, and I was paying for my friend's ticket. We go up, and the guy goes, "Oh, can I see your ID?" And I went, "Sure." And then I realized that I left my wallet at home. Like, I brought like $10 for the movie with me, but like I forgot my wallet at home. I was like, oh no. So I had my mom send me a picture of my ID, and I showed it to him. He's like, "Okay," but he marked the tickets with CID. Like look at his ID. And so I'm like, oh no. I'm like, they're gonna check my friend's ID. I'm like, we are going to get kicked out of this theater. And then I went up to my 2 other friends who were 17. I'm like, we got an issue. And so what we ended up doing was we ended up trading a ticket with them so that we could get him through with no problems. But I just remember thinking, I turned to my friend who was 16, because we've been sneaking him in a lot that summer, and I just went, "We are not doing this again until your birthday." That was too close. It was just stupid high school stuff that we did. It's just good times.
Yeah. Yeah. So I looked into like how the ratings work in here, and it's so basically, so you got general, which is anyone. You got 13 years old or older, which is strongly recommended that you'd be 13 years older. But if you're younger than that and accompanied by someone older, you can get in. And then it's 16 plus and 18 plus, which are like you have to be 16 or you have to be 18. And I'd like to find examples of movies that like you have to be 18 to watch, but I'm scared that I'm gonna find like not the right stuff that I'm looking for.
I understand that.
So
for us, it's like So okay, this is how the rating system works in America.
Yeah.
At least for the higher tiers, because it's like obviously we have G, which is general audiences. That's everybody.
Yeah.
PG is like young kids, like maybe like 6 or 7 and above. PG 13,
like Disney, yeah.
obviously teenagers. And then there's R. But here's the weird thing with the R rating. I don't know if it's the same where you are, but it's not just like 13-year-olds accompanied with a parent that can get in. If you are like any age, I think, unless like the theater stops you, you could probably bring a 5-year-old into an R-rated movie if they're your kid. I think that might be allowed. I think that might be allowed over here. I'm not entirely sure. Because I haven't met anybody crazy enough to do it. Because it's stupid.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah. But I have heard stories about how very young kids got into very not good movies for young kids. But there is a less talked about rating in America, and that's NC-17.
I know about that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard about it.
With restricted with the R rating, you can it's the thing where you can get anybody in as long as like the guardian is there. No, if it's NC-17, you have to be over 17. There are not a whole lot of movies that have gotten that rating. But actually now that I say that, I'm kind of curious what did.
You see, there's like American Psycho. I'm guessing, I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing that what's it? Goodfellas. I'm guessing the Goodfellas is gonna be there, because with the amount of times that they say fuck, and there is some like pretty big like violence. Yes, it is there.
Goodfellas.
There's the Godfather 3, but not the 2 first.
Really? Here's something that you're gonna find probably pretty funny.
All right.
So I learned this the other day, and I don't think I didn't mention it with our American Psycho episode, but I remember researching this because I remember with the copy I have of it, it's labeled as the unrated version, and I'm like, well, why is that a thing? Right. And so I looked up. I'm like, why did they do that? So here's another really funny thing about censorship in the U.S. You can't say asshole on most TV stations or movies unless you want to get an R rating or something. Which is weird. You can say ass. You can do that. You can't say asshole. I've seen a lot of times on TV where someone will say asshole. Ass is not bleep, but the hole is. That's very strange. I've
seen that. Yeah.
I remember there's a version of American Psycho out there. I think it's the original version that was shown in theaters, where when Patrick is about to have sex with those prostitutes, and he says like, bend down so she can see your asshole. In the original cut, it cuts when he says hole. He's just like, bend down so she can see your ass. It's really weird. But I remember that being one of the only like notable changes for the uncut version, which is like really weird. I don't understand. It's very, very strange.
To me, it's interesting to see like for certain ratings what you can and what you can't say. Like, it's it's always an example that I have is How I Met Your Mother, which talks a lot about. There's a lot of jokes about sex and about alcohol and stuff like that, and the show's definitely meant to be watched by people that are like in their early 20s, and mostly people in their 20s. But obviously since it's on TV, they can't say like fuck. But it always surprised me how they can easily get away with saying like son of a bitch and like you're a bitch. I don't know why that kind of surprises me. But another thing that I think is really funny is the difference between the US and the UK. And the main example is just how, like, you cannot say, like, I feel like in America, the F word, like, is the big thing. But if you go to the UK, like, you could just get on TV and say, hey, you fucking whatever. And I just think it's funny, like the amount of UK shows that I've seen that say fuck. But I think in the UK the big word that you can't say is cunt.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that.
I think so.
So the big thing, okay, this is really recently. So a show came out on Adult Swim this past month, called Smiling Friends, animated by created and animated by Psychic Pebbles, Zach Hadel, and Michael Cusack, which are two internet animators I've been following for a very long time. And it was a really good season, and they recently did an interview on I think it was the Official Podcast, which is a Critical's podcast, where they were talking about like just stuff, and one of the questions that came up was like, well, what were some like censorship issues that you guys had? And they were like, honestly, not much, but there was one time where we had a character who had like their like pubes showing or something, like just like a little bit. And then like the editors or like the TV station people got back to them. They're like, you can't do that. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, you just get rid of the pubes and everything else is fine. And it's like, really? Because some of the stuff they say some of the stuff they do in that show is like, oh, okay. It's like it's a little risky for television, but knowing that was the thing, very very interesting to me. I would love to know, especially for radio in the U.S. I would love to go through and like figure out what the whole like I guess thing is with their rating system, or in terms of like what they can and can't say.
But a show that I think is interesting in terms of like censor is South Park, because it really is a question of like, I'm sure there's a lot of moments where the TV studios wanted to censor them, but are you really gonna try and censor South Park? Like, really, there really is.
Yeah.
It's like the show that you can't touch, because it's like if you complain about them doing that, but it's like, yeah, you complain about them doing that, but they did this thing that is arguably very worse like 20 years ago.
I feel like South Park might be the only show on television that is entirely untouchable, mainly because of the era it started and the fact that it's still going with the same people. Because like, I feel like going through and making a big like thing about censoring South Park would just not work. And I would probably lump other shows like It's Always Sunny into that, because I remember I watched a recent episode of that show recently, and it was like, oh, okay, they still try and get away with quite a bit. So it's like, okay, I guess older shows like that definitely still can get away with a lot, but I feel like we're not gonna be able to see another show like that, at least on TV. Streaming services, whole other thing. Because I guess there's the whole thing with streaming services now, and that's another thing they talked about on that's another thing that Zach and Michael talked about on the Smiling Friends podcast that they were doing. It was like, it's really different for like in terms of like what you can do on TV and what you can do on streaming services. Because on TV, you don't know who's watching, you don't know who got there, you don't know if it's like a kid who stayed up too late or something. But with streaming services, if they're on your show, they wanted to watch it. So it's like not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of like plausible deniability there. It's definitely their fault if they're watching your show. So I think that's kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, it's.
But yeah.
Well, yeah. I think what's interesting too about South Park is it's like, it gets compared a lot with shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy, because they're like cartoons made for adult that started around the same era, like in the 90s. And I feel like if you compare them, like The Simpsons. I haven't really watched a lot of the recent Simpsons episode, but I've heard that it lowered a lot in quality. Family Guy has like I was never the biggest Family Guy fan, but holy shit! Sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, why is this show still on? And
oh
South
my
Park,
god,
yeah?
that is a whole thing in itself. But yeah, go ahead with South Park.
Well, yeah, for South Park, I feel like it's it's still managed to say basically like the same.
Yeah.
It's like they still managed to say. I'm sure there's gonna be some people that are gonna disagree because they're like, oh, it used to be better. But from what I've seen, South Park like is still just as funny and still just as dumb and ridiculously like definitely not for kids, but they still keep the same like they got the same energy that they had when they started, which is really cool.
Yeah. My issue with South Park has never really been about the show itself. It's been about one character in particular, and that's Cartman. I am so annoyed by that character that I legitimately can't watch the show for more than like an episode at a time. I genuinely think it's insufferable. But in terms of the other shows, what was that?
Well, that's definitely a question of like, preferences in comedy, because I personally think like Cartman is one of my favorite characters, and he's one of the characters that makes me laugh the most, just because like having it's just the absurdity of having an 8-year-old who's like a Nazi and who hates so many like different communities. The absurdity of that makes it so, and the way they handle it, I personally think is really funny. But I definitely understand why you would think he's unsufferable, because let's be honest, he is.
It's definitely a thing of like what kind of character can you like handle watching for a while. Like I'm sure there's stuff that like you would probably find annoying, but I'm like, it's fine. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff. But in terms of the other shows that we mentioned, like The Simpsons, I have loved since I was really little, like maybe like 6 or 7. And very recently, when I moved out on my own, I started rewatching some of the old Simpsons episodes, and they really hold up until like season 14. That's the cutoff, I think. Like that is when everything's like, even some episodes in like 12, 13, 14 are not that great, but it still kind of holds up. But like everything past that point, really mediocre and sometimes just awful. But at least it never reaches the same, like with modern Simpsons episodes, I could probably put it on and still be like mildly entertained by it. I just think modern Family Guy is such a mess. Like I don't hate, and I'm gonna be completely honest right now. I think the first like 4 seasons of Family Guy are legitimately good, and then like seasons 4 through 8 are they got some stinkers, but it's like pretty funny. And then once you get past like season 10, it is just garbage after garbage. And I remember I used to watch it. It used to be a big ritual between my dad and I, is that every Friday we would go on Hulu and watch the new episode of Family Guy. We did this for like 5 years. And then at some point during season 13, it just got so bad. Both of us were like, I can't. Like we I remember there was one episode, I think it was where Chris got like chemically castrated or something, and it was just like the least funny thing I've ever seen. And I was like, I'm done. Oh no! I can't watch any more of this.
Because it's like, Family Guy was one of the first like, here was 13 plus shows that I stay up till 10 p.m. to watch it. I was like, oh my god, it's so late. Ooh.
Oh my god.
And I definitely have like some classics episode, like a lot of the episodes with Brian and Stewie. I think they're a really good duo. They made a lot of really good episodes with them. My favorite episode is the one that's like the based on the Agatha Christie novel. It's like, and then there were 10. I don't remember the name, but it's like the one where they're stuck in a manor and they slowly all
That
they're
is a
slowly
good
all
episode.
getting killed. I've got a DVD like with that
I have-
episode in it. Just
That's
'cause
funny
it's
you say that.
good.
I have a DVD of that episode too. Yeah, I remember liking that episode a lot.
It's really good. Yeah.
It is good. Do you want to know what show I really like though? Like the first,
me.
like I legitimately think the first like 5 seasons of this show are probably some of my favorite TV ever. I love American Dad. It is so funny.
Oh, really?
Like those first 5 seasons are really good. Like I remember, I even thought I was like, it might be just because of like the dumb humor that my dad and I have cultivated over the years of watching that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not at all funny, like if I didn't have those experiences. But just watching it, like I remember last year I would watch a few episodes, not every now and then.
Yeah.
And it's still funny, at least like to me.
Yeah, I mean, I never got into it. Like, I watched some episodes and I don't know. I think I'm not even exactly sure why. It's been a really long time since I saw an episode, but I just thought it was like pretty stupid.
I think that was the reason I liked it, is just because it was dumb.
Yeah, but I mean, I like dumb humor, but there's not everything.
I get it, yeah.
And there's something.
Course.
I don't know what it is about this show, and I think some people might think that, but I know it's not because of the like patriotic jokes and stuff like that. Like I know that
Right.
I know that I don't care enough for that to be the reason. I don't know what I think. It's like too much. I think that's it. It's like
There were some episodes later in its run, because I think it's still going, but I remember it's like
I think it is. Yeah.
there's some episodes in season 8 where it was just like gratuitously violent for no reason, and that's when I started getting turned off from it. I'm like, this is weird. I'm like, why would you ever do this? But those first few seasons where like they were hit, they like knew exactly where to hit it with their writing. It's like it's good stuff, and it's the same thing with every show like that. It's like, I don't remember who said it. I think it might have been Seth MacFarlane himself that said this. He said, he's like, I think every show legitimately has a lifespan of 7 seasons. And while I don't think it's every show, like I think It's Always Sunny still puts out pretty good episodes, even though they're in their 15th season now. But sometimes I completely agree with that, because
I mean,
it's like if you look at The Simpsons after a certain point, obviously that it's like. Yeah, I get it.
well, I'm thinking about like a bunch of long running shows that I've seen. Like most of them, like the longest one that I can think of are like have stopped airing. But the only one that I can think of that is still airing, that's been airing for literally decades, is Doctor Who. And what's interesting with Doctor Who is it's a show that every year has been changing main actor and companions and showrunner as well. So every few years, it's almost as if like the show was rebooted, and the showrunner that's currently on is just so bad that it makes people think that like, oh, Doctor Who is not good anymore. But like it's been announced that like he's only got a few. Like he's got a few specials left, and then he's gonna be replaced with Russell T Davies, who is the showrunner that brought Doctor Who back to life in 2005, and he's the one who wrote. He's the one who was the showrunner when David Tennant was the Doctor.
Ooh.
So
I don't know much about Doctor Who, but from everybody I know who watches Doctor Who, they said that was the best.
Yeah,
they said that was like at least close to like the best that it's gotten.
Yeah,
that's great.
And it's like, don't want to get into too much of a Doctor Who conversation because you haven't seen it, but yeah, right. My favorite era is Doctor Who is the era that comes after that, which was written by Stephen Moffat, who's the same guy who wrote Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, and this era definitely has issues, especially in terms of like plot holes and definitely trying to go too deep into certain stories and whatever. But I have to say, if I try to look at it objectively, I think in terms of writing, the Russell T Davies era is probably the best one. So I'm really excited for him to come back, and I hope he's gonna make some good stuff. But yeah, so that's an interesting case, because it's like Doctor Who is not great right now, but it's not because the show has lost its flame or anything. It's just because like right now they're not in a good state. But it's not the only time that it's been like that. I mean, the show was literally canceled like 30 years ago. So
that's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there is something very weird about like the one that I've been thinking about in this conversation is SNL, which I feel like people have been saying for so long that like now it sucks, and it's like,
oh, it's bad.
Yeah,
like I remember a few weeks ago I had a friend over, and him my roommate and I were like, hey, let's watch SNL clips until we find a funny one, and it took us about 40 minutes until we reached one clip that they did with Owen Wilson, where they did like a parody of Cars 3, or they did a thing where it's like, oh, here Owen, we're gonna do a table read for Cars 4, and he's like, you know, we're just gonna see how it goes. And he's like, all right, and they basically wrote Lightning McQueen as just like a terrible person, and oh my god, I think the line that made all of us actually legitimately laugh was like Tomato comes in, it's like, Lightning, why did you sleep with my sister? You could have had anybody, but you slept with her. And Lightning just goes, power. And then it just like, and then Owen was like, well, why is he like this now? It like, I just remember that moment. I was like, oh my god, they struck gold out of all of these like misfires. Like, that's funny.
There's like, I've never really watched SNL just because it's not like, you know, it's not really that big here, and I never like grew up with it like a lot of people did in America. But there's one sketch that I saw on YouTube that I really liked, which was if Wes Anderson directed a horror movie.
I think I saw that one.
Yeah, and it's an episode where the host was Edward Norton, and he made just an amazing Owen Wilson impression, where literally like it took me 30 seconds, I think, to be like, oh shit, that's not Owen Wilson, that's Edward Norton. So it's like
that's funny, and
it's on point. Like,
I
think it's a really good one.
I still think the only time, or this is like probably the best era of SNL, and I wasn't even alive for it, was when Norm Macdonald hosted a Weekend Update or something, and it was his whole era of him making OJ jokes, and the network getting really mad at him and firing him.
Yeah,
that is some of the funniest things I've ever seen.
That's fucking. It's like I can't believe this actually happened. This is fucking crazy. I love those jokes.
The line that he says that will always stick in my mind was the week after the OJ verdict came out, and he went, well, it's official. Murder is now legal in Los Angeles. And everybody froze. The world, the whole U.S. was shaken by that. And that is one of the funniest things that SNL has ever done.
Oh, you know what's one of the most absurd tweets I've ever seen is O.J. Simpson like tweeting a message about something related to that, and he says, and I shit you not, he said, I'm always scared of going back to L.A. because I'm always scared I'd be sitting next to the guy who did it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, dude, for fuck's sake, dude.
You might be. God.
I think honestly, he really often is, in my opinion. Man, it's fucking. I cannot. Every time I think about that, I'm like, I cannot believe he actually said that.
He said a lot of stuff that's great about that entire situation.
Like,
it's just almost unbelievable.
the big thing was like, holy shit, he's still pretending that he didn't do it. Like
I mean,
that was.
I was about to say the statute of limitations is up, but then I just remembered that in America there is no statute of limitations for murder. So
well,
if you want to steal a bike and wait like maybe 10, 20 years, you won't be arrested for it. But if you murder somebody, yeah, it's gonna stick with you, which is good. I'm glad that we don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's probably a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there is a difference between stealing a bag and killing someone.
It's true, but I remember the reason I remembered that existed is because recently I saw a YouTube video recommended to me that was like a real life bank robber, like talking about how to rob banks. I'm like, well, why isn't he in jail? I'm like, oh, he just got away with it for long enough so that nobody cared. It's incredible.
It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know how law works here, so I can't really compare, but like
it's I don't really to be fair, I don't really know how law works over here either. I just know funny facts about law. Like I'm pretty sure I think there was like some law where like it was in some like landlocked state where they didn't have any major bodies of water at all, but it said like going hunting for whales was illegal in that state. And it's like, well, I wonder where they're gonna do it. But it's it's about all I know, really.
Yeah,
just stupid things.
Oh man, I really want to mention this because that's something that I thought of, like it's something that I saw this week that I thought was pretty stupid. So, all right, there is a comedian here in Quebec that maybe you've heard of because he's done quite a lot of stuff in the U.S. It's called Mike Ward.
Oh, hold on. I'm sure I've seen some from him.
He's known for making like very dark jokes, and he's also known for his lawsuit, which has been a mess for years.
His lawsuit, huh?
All right, so there is a kid that was popular here in like the 2000s, like when I was a very young child, and who basically he had like a disease of some kind that like affected the way that he looked and some stuff like that, and his family like definitely wanted him to be like kind of like on the spotlight, and he said that his dream was to sing for the Pope, and he ended up doing that, and he ended up getting a lot of press about that. He sang for Celine Dion. He sang for he sang a few times on TV and stuff like that. And the thing that's really weird about that is that they kept framing him as if he was like a child that's pretty fucked up. But they were framing it as if he was a child that was like dying, but his disease is not like.
It's not fatal.
It's not fatal. No, it's not. And
I get that.
So,
okay.
And so Mike Ward made a joke about that, and his joke was basically about how they kept talking about like how about him as if he was about to die very soon, but every time he like while the time passed, he kept not dying. He made a joke about that was the way it was framed was a bit like I personally don't think it was that mean, because it's if you look at like it's a question of phrasing. If you look at like really what he was saying, he was mainly critiquing the parents for the way that like they were trying to put him on the spotlight so much, and also now their joke was like I said he was singing. I never said he was a good singer. He's a terrible singer.
I was actually gonna ask that. Oh, that's no good.
There is a performance that he did on TV where he was singing a Christmas song, and he had like the fucking voice crack of a lifetime, and so I got nothing like in general, I really feel bad for that kid just because, like, I can't believe his parents were like, this is okay to put him on the, because, like, he was getting, before that happened, he was getting so much hate on, like, on social media, even though it was still quite small at the time. It was still getting a lot of hate because they were like, why the fuck is he on TV if he can't sing? Stuff like that. And I don't understand how the parents could put him on TV and not think that it was, like, gonna turn against them. And so Mike Ward made that joke, and he made that joke in, like, I don't know, I want to say like 2013. And ever since he made that joke, they've just been going at him non-stop. It was, he wrote the joke in 2010. And he ended up, it was just a giant mess because he had to give them like $30,000, and then they went to like the Supreme Court, and he ended up winning his case, and people were all like, all right, it's settled, he won, that's it. And this week they sued him for, this time, $372,000 for basically the same thing. I think it was a bit different, and yeah, it's just like, just wanted to talk about it because I thought it was really stupid.
Didn't it get ruled that it wasn't?
So, like, all right.
So how did he get sued?
Hold on. I don't remember what the exact same words were, but it's like, hold on. I'm gonna need to pull out Google Translate because I don't remember the words.
Was the kid's name?
So
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Jeremy Gabriel.
Yeah, that's him. And
okay.
There's I know one of the lawsuits was for defamation, and the other one was for another thing that I don't remember what it was.
I don't know about defamation.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah,
I don't think you can defame someone's character by making a joke. You can certainly discriminate. That's a thing.
Yeah. It was something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the first lawsuit was that, like, they were saying that he was making fun of people with disabilities, and which was not the case. He was making fun of, like, how much his parents wanted him to be in the media. That was basically the joke. And anyway, that's just, I've seen a lot of, like, comedians, even comedians in the US, talking about that. And he actually went to the Joe Rogan podcast, and that's, like, the only episode that I ever cared to watch. And it's
that's another topic of what's been going on, is everything with Joe Rogan and Spotify.
Oh yeah,
so,
dude.
Yeah. So we'll do this quick because it's not really that, like, crazy, or, like, there isn't a whole lot to say about it really. But
yeah,
so,
that's the main thing.
For those who don't know, Joe Rogan, who last year or a couple years ago now, got that huge Spotify exclusivity deal for his podcast. Ever since COVID started, he's been kind of, he's been saying some like really bad takes about the vaccine and everything that even some of his guests have called him out on. But so some music artists now have started pulling their music from Spotify in protest of Joe Rogan saying these things. And if I'm being honest, I think it might be a little extreme. I don't really. It's one man's opinion, and yes, his opinion is listened to a lot. But in reality, talking just purely in reality, have you ever met a person who takes Joe Rogan's opinion seriously? I have not. And that might just be the people I hang around with. Maybe I hang around with, pretty level-headed people. But I have never met a person.
You know what? There actually are a lot of people who take his opinion seriously, and they're not the type of people that you want to listen to seriously. That's the main thing.
Okay, yeah, that too.
Anti-vaxxers and COVID deniers, all these people, they love Joe Rogan. That's the main thing.
Of course they do. Of course they do. Okay, Here's the other thing, though, and here's the side of the argument that I can understand why they're going so hard at Spotify for this, is because I suppose in a certain way you could look at it by the fact that Spotify is giving him money, that they endorse what he's saying. I don't entirely think that's true. I think Spotify is giving him money because he's popular and he makes them money.
Yeah.
I don't think what he ever said had anything to do with it. But
Well, yeah.
it's a crazy situation. A lot of artists have started to pull out, like a few pretty big ones like Neil Young. And I really have no, I guess, like, I don't know what the word is. I don't have any sides to, like, that I feel like I should take.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel that strongly about it. But I will say here, if artists that I care about start doing that, like if people that I listen to on the regular start doing that, I will switch to Apple Music. That is the truth.
Yeah.
But it is just a very, very crazy situation. And I guess to kind of close it out, if you're looking for a really funny clip, watch the clip where Bill Burr talks to Joe Rogan about masks. He calls him out on Joe Rogan's really weird opinion opinion about masks. It's really it's really pretty funny. But because Bill Burr's great. His podcast is great as well. But yeah. So
well, just to quickly give my opinion on that, like,
yeah, go ahead.
I'd say there's a lot of reasons for some artists to, like, be angry at Spotify, and there are a lot of reasons to, like, delete their music from Spotify. And I'm not sure that this is, like, I mean, in my opinion, this really isn't the most, like, relevant thing. Not relevant, but the most, the biggest priority. In my opinion,
there's a lot to be. Yeah, go ahead.
I think a lot of artists should do basically what they're doing right now, just, like, protesting against Spotify, just so that they can get paid properly. Because holy shit, Spotify doesn't pay shit.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, that's a whole other thing on its own. Like, I remember, I have friends who, like, tried to put music on Spotify, and they're just like, I don't think it's worth the trouble. Because it's like, isn't it just? All I know is that it's just awful rates.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it is. I just know that, like, I'm not making enough. I don't have enough people listening to me on Spotify to, like, make it worth it. But not to make it. That's not what I meant to say. Not to get paid. I'm not being watched enough to, like, get paid, even if it was good rate, because, like, not
exactly
pretty much no one listens to me, so that makes sense. But I don't remember I know that I've heard of, like, how some people got paid for certain songs. It was just fucking stupid, just how little they were getting paid.
It really is weird.
And then you've got people saying how it used to be better when there were CDs, and you got other people saying, like, oh, stop complaining, Spotify is so much more useful. And it's like, yeah, it's better in a lot of ways to use Spotify, but like, if you're an artist, you're getting paid so much less.
Yeah, as a user, I love Spotify. I think it's a great platform. I use it for all of my music, and it would be a pain in the ass to switch. But looking at it as like someone else who, creates things and understands, you should get paid really well for your work. Looking at it that way, I'm like, damn, this is awful. I hate what I see when I look at this. But it's not even that a lot of other streaming platforms are that great either. They're just better than Spotify in terms of paying artists. They're better, but that doesn't mean that they're great or anything. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, the issue with Spotify is that all they care about is making money, and, like, making sure that the company makes money. They don't care about the rest. Like, and that's when it gets very dangerous, is when, like, because music, just like movies, like music is an art as much as it is an industry, and when you
Yes.
just start treating music as only an industry and nothing else, then that's when I think it gets very dangerous, and I think it gets very, like, gotta get careful with that, because it's dangerous for like the artists and stuff like that, and
Right.
yeah, but then you could also make other arguments that, like, I've got my music on Spotify, and if it was like, if we were still in an era of CDs, I'd never have like CDs with my music. But then again, I'm still not getting views anyway, so does it really matter? I don't know.
Well, eventually when it does pop off like that,
Mm-hmm.
it'll start to become a factor. But that's
Yeah.
that's something to think. That's something to think about for the future.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of all I had to say really about like recent events and everything. So
Yeah.
do you think we should get into the next week's movie?
Next week's music, yeah.
Next week's music? I can't talk.
Yeah. I've already prepared the list, so let me click on
okay.
randomize, and all right. Next week's movie will be Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters.
Oh, that is a very interesting one for our 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. Should we include
Yeah.
Patriotism? His short film.
Yeah. Sure. If I can find a place to watch it,
Let me.
because I'm not
see
sure where it
something.
is.
Let me see something real quick. I remember seeing it was on something. Let me see something. Streaming. Oh wait, I think it might all be on YouTube.
Oh.
Yes, it is. It's the Criterion scan of it is on YouTube for free.
Really?
Yeah. So that's
Wow.
with English subs and everything.
Wow.
That's great.
Nice.
But yeah. So do you think we should add that to the discussion?
For sure, yeah. Might as well.
Alrighty. So next
All right,
week.
well.
Next week we have Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters, directed by Paul Schrader, and Yukio Mishima's Patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
So, alrighty. I guess that will be all.
Yep.
For this week's episode of Movie Dude. So thank you all for listening. I hope you had a good time. And we will see you next week. Happy birthday to Solaris.
Yeah.
And have a good week. Bye-bye.
Bye.